Hey YouTube, it's Shivi Lone Guy. Today is June 13th, 2013. I've been thinking about the NSA and the wiretapping they're doing and Edward Snowden and the information that he revealed about the program and how extensive it is. You know, we all kind of were suspicious that things were being monitored, listened to, watched, recorded. I'm not sure what, but I think what he did was clarify things so that we know for sure what's going on. What I wanted to bring to the conversation was the thought that I had in relationship to kind of what I've been hearing. You know, they keep talking about how they're just keeping the metadata, which is just that front stuff you see if you go into the source code, looking at any website, you'll see the top little bit of metadata that starts the thing off. That's how they track and keep track of who goes in first place when you type in Google and all that stuff. But here's the thing that they're not really talking about. I kind of realized, I think, what's going on here. When they just picture recording, like a recording, just picture recording for, let's say, one day, all the conversations of everyone that has a digital phone. If you have a regular analog phone that sits on your desk, like this one right here, I keep this one around because you don't need electricity. You can just pick this one up and dial even when the power's out. Plus, I like the turquoise color. It's kind of cool. Anyway, just suppose for a minute that you had the ability to record every phone conversation, not just the phone numbers. You'd get the phone numbers, you'd have the time, the date, you'd know the location of the phone call, you'd know the person that they were calling, and you'd have all the information on that other party as well. But let's just suppose for a minute that you had the ability to record every phone call from every digital, which means every cellular or wireless phone on the planet. Let's just say you could do that. And let's just say that you could also record and copy all the contents of every form of electronic communication going on at any given time, which means everyone's emails, also knowing where you visit, everywhere you go on the internet, everything. Everywhere you go is all recorded. Let's just say, just for the moment, that you could take all the information for everyone that was online and the World Wide Web and record it. Now let me mention something here. I'm old enough, and a lot of you are old enough to remember when the digital age came about and basically how it transformed everything, but it kind of captured our imagination when we realized how things could be digital instead of analog, especially in the field that I was in, which was graphic communications, which included graphic arts and commercial printing and electronic creation of artwork electronically, and so on and so forth. So what happened when they went from analog to digital basically was analog, and this is really, I mean, everyone probably knows this, and this is going to look real stupid, but I'll draw it out anyway, because who cares if it looks stupid. I'm going to draw a line here like this, straight line, and in an analog, a wave form shape basically is in some form of a curve. If it sort of starts up here and goes up and then down and back like this and back up, and that's from this point here to this point here, that's one wave in analog. And along the way, of course, you've got all these varying different degrees. In a photographic world, you have what's called basically levels of gray. The difference between black and white, there are infinite number of levels of gray. With digital information, which is what changed it all, let me draw a line here, camera, okay, draw the same baseline here. With digital information, it doesn't have a curve to it. It just basically goes straight up, and then over, straight down, over, straight up, like that. All right? So what that means is that basically there are no little gradient graduations. It's either basically on or off. Thus, the bits and bytes that are a 0 or a 1. And that sequence of zeros and ones in a whole string of numbers is basically what the digital information is all about. And, you know, I'm telling you things you already know. 16-bit, 32-bit, 64-bit, that's how many characters that can be either in the on position or the off position, either zeros or ones. And the more of those zeros and ones that you have, 128-bit, 256-bit, whatever it is, that just makes for a lot more opportunity, a lot more numbers. I don't know what I'm even trying to say. But it's like an area code. If you add an area code, you get billions of phone numbers. And so, okay, now I'm starting to ramble. So let me come back to my thought. So my thought was, if you could record all this stuff, everything in a digital format now, which is basically a series of zeros and ones, including all the video that we create and upload, it's all basically bits and bytes. And storing that stuff really is not that difficult. It's not like recording an analog tape where you used to have a tape, reel-to-reel tape, and 8 tracks, cassette tapes. We even had big computer mag tapes back in the 80s, and then they got smaller and smaller and smaller, and pretty soon they went away, and then it was all stored on a little disc. So that's kind of the evolution of analog to digital. But what it did is it kind of meant that you could digitize things. That's what we used to say in the beginning. If you digitized an image, then you could basically send it across the world by, at that time, a telephone wire. Eventually it became wireless when they started doing the cellular stuff. But bottom line is, it's not impossible. It's not impossible for someone to record that stuff. Now just picture this. They say that they've been doing this program for about 7 years now. Started under the Bush administration. I don't know how extensive it was in the very beginning, but I know, according to Edward Snowden, it started off basically as foreign surveillance, which is how it was originally set up, but it has evolved and changed and has become much, I got the impression from him, more recently has become much more of a domestic look at our stuff. So they're not only recording the phone calls and information on what sites people are visiting and so on around the world, which is they should be looking particularly at our enemies, but rather they're looking at everyone around the world. But on top of that, they're also looking at all of the phone call. I'm not saying they're listening to every phone call, but they're recording the calls. They're saving them all. They're saving the calls. The phone number, your location where you were located, the length of the phone call, who you talked to, and the truth is, the content of the phone call. Yes, the content of the phone call is being recorded and saved. The content of your emails is being recorded and saved. the content of your videos and your comments on Facebook and your Twitter tweets, all of that stuff has been being saved. Picture it as being recorded, being copied, being photographed. Any way you want to picture it, it's being archived so that what we have now got in these massive NSA buildings is an archive of a picture of any day that you want to go back, let's say in the last 5 years, and pick up information on anyone, anywhere in the world, basically. I'm assuming a lot in what I'm saying here, but you get the idea. You could go back to a certain time and date 3.5 years ago and pick up every conversation and every location that a person was at, who they talked to, who those people talked to, what sites you visited, all the emails that you used, all the communication, whatever, probably whatever you even watched on TV, because the TVs are now being tied in and the signals are basically digital signals. Our signals all, it's not coming through a cable any longer. I mean, there's a cable in my house, but once it leaves the house, then it's going through a router and it's becoming digital information. That's all I'm saying. So smart phones, smart appliances, smart meters, smart everything. Everything is smart these days. Smart means that they're spying, they're monitoring, they're watching us, they're surveilling us. Now, like most people say, I've got nothing to fear, I'm not doing anything wrong, what do I care? Well, that may be true, but the point is anyone at any point in time can accuse you of being a terrorist for whatever reason, and report you somehow to Big Sis, and all of a sudden you could disappear. And the fact is that now they have the ability to create a complete story on you. And you know how you can basically take information and tweak it and make it look any way you want? You know, you can take survey information and skew it and make it to say just about anything you want. Well, don't you think if they were able to take all of our phone conversations, emails, websites that we visited, everything, and just keep track of all of it and store it all and then be able to go back to it someday if they ever got curious about you or they didn't like you anymore, whoever was in charge of these systems, if they didn't like you anymore and they decided that they wanted to build a case against you? I'm pretty sure we've seen that ourselves in recent history. General Poitras comes to mind for some reason, and the emails that somehow they pulled up and all of that information that was used to embarrass him and cause him to step down. So I'm just saying, if they want to get to you, they can get to you. So what this really means is we need to put a stop to this. We need to talk to Congress. Congress apparently is okay with this. They've been in on this for all along. And every 3 months they're getting the FISA court to rubber stamp and give them the go-ahead to keep going, keep going, keep going. You know, it's time for us to get in touch with our representatives and start making some noise about this. And if they won't do anything about it to stop it and end the programs, then we need to get rid of them and put some people in office who will stand up for liberty and freedom and the Constitution and the American way. All right, well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.
I was breaking different codes and data systems and doing data analysis against the Soviet Union. After 9/11, they took one of the programs I had done, or the back end part of it, and started to use it to spy on everybody in this country. So that was a program they created called Stellar Wind. That was the separate and compartmented from the regular activity that was ongoing, because it was doing domestic spying. All the equipment was coming in. I knew something was happening, but then when the contractors I had hired came and told me what they were doing, it was clear where all the hardware was going and what they were using it to do. It was simply a different input. Instead of being foreign, it was domestic input.
Somebody told me that they can listen to what we're saying by my having this, even if it's turned off.
Yes. Here's the real grand design. Every domain, think of a domain as an activity, a specific type of activity. Phone calls, or banking is another domain. So if you think of graphing each domain, and then each graph then turning it in the third dimension, the trick now is to map through all the domains in that third dimension, pulling together all the attributes that any individual has in every domain, so that now I can pull your entire life together from all those domains and map it out and show your entire life over time.